On a crisp, clear morning, Sienna, a 32-year-old white woman pregnant with her first child, strolled slowly down the street. Suddenly, a blaring car horn shattered the calm. She turned, only to freeze in horror. A truck was speeding straight toward her. In a split second, Danny, a skinny 13-year-old black boy, darted out of nowhere and tackled Sienna, pushing her out of the truck's path. The truck skidded, its tires screeching as the driver swerved sharply away from Sienna and crashed into the curb. Sienna gasped for breath, clutching her belly. Gratitude filled her, toward God, fate, or whoever had protected her and her child, but the noise around her quickly pulled her back to reality. A crowd of white onlookers had gathered. She expected them to commend Danny for his bravery, but instead, their words stung like daggers. Typical black kid trying to play the hero for attention. Disgusting. Sienna stood in stunned silence, unable to comprehend their cruelty. How could they betray a boy who had just saved her life? She noticed Danny limping, his leg scraped from the rescue, as he quietly tried to slip away. Without thinking, she grabbed his hand and looked him in the eye. "Thank you," she said earnestly. "If it weren't for you, my baby and I might not be alive right now." Danny's eyes widened. He hadn't expected a word of gratitude from the elegant white woman he had just saved. Her sincerity touched him deeply, a glimmer of hope in a world where he rarely felt seen. But neither Danny nor Sienna knew that this moment would set off a chain of events leading to unimaginable tragedy for Danny's family. Sienna couldn't just say thank you to Danny. She invited him to a hearty meal to show her gratitude. Danny hesitated briefly but eventually agreed. At the table, Sienna gently asked about his life. Danny opened up, his voice steady yet tinged with pain. "My family is really poor. My parents do all kinds of odd jobs just to get by. People judge us because of our skin color, so it's hard for them to find work. And now our neighborhood's about to be torn down, but the compensation isn't even enough for a new place to live. Only black communities are being forced out like this. I heard some billionaires behind the project." Sienna froze for a moment, then interrupted him. "That billionaire is my husband. If that's true, don't worry, I'll talk to him." Danny nodded but didn't dare hope too much. The meal ended, and before parting, Sienna asked for his home address. That evening, Sienna told her husband, 35-year-old billionaire Davis, everything. After a long conversation, Davis reluctantly agreed to cancel the project, sparing Danny's neighborhood. But Sienna didn't stop there. She brought Danny's family to live in their mansion. Danny's mother became the household chef, his father served as Davis's driver, and Danny was able to continue his schooling. For a while, it felt like a dream, despite the whispers and cruel remarks from others. Why would a billionaire help filthy black people? They're nothing but leeches. Danny ignored them, clinging to the hope that this happiness would last forever. But one fateful day, everything unraveled. Danny's father, while driving Davis on a business trip, caused a severe car accident, leaving Davis gravely injured and unconscious. The very next day, a meal prepared by Danny's mother was contaminated, leading to Sienna losing her unborn child. Chaos erupted. Once Sienna recovered, she stormed into the family's quarters, her voice trembling with rage. "I gave you such a good life, how could you betray us like this?" Davis, now confined to a wheelchair, was wheeled into the room. His voice roared with fury. "You filthy, ungrateful black people. You're jealous of what we have, so you tried to destroy us, didn't you?" Police arrived swiftly. Danny's parents were arrested, his father for negligence, his mother for intentional harm. Danny, now alone, was thrown out of the mansion into a cold, relentless rain, with nowhere to go. After that turbulent day, Danny roamed the streets, surviving by scavenging trash and scrap. He endured endless insults and scornful stares, some even mocked him cruelly, saying, "Look at the black stray dog thrown out by the billionaire." Danny couldn't fight back. He could only endure in silence. One day, while rummaging through a dumpster near a luxury apartment complex, Danny spotted Davis stepping out with a young, unfamiliar white woman. They were far more affectionate than Davis had ever been with Sienna. Curiosity burned inside Danny, prompting him to follow the pair. Through a slightly open window, Danny overheard their conversation. "She just won't die," Davis grumbled. "I slipped poison into the food that black woman cooked, but only the baby died. What a waste of effort. Ruining the brakes to stage that car accident and get the old black man thrown in jail. At least their miserable family is reunited behind bars." The woman purred in a syrupy voice, stroking his arm. "Don't worry. Your wife still doesn't suspect a thing. We'll get another chance to get rid of her." Davis smirked darkly. "Tonight's dinner will be her last. I'll lace it with enough poison to make sure she's gone for good. Then everything, her fortune, her house, will belong to us." Danny froze in shock. It was all clear now. Everything had been Davis's cruel scheme. The boy clenched his fist, trembling with anger. "I can't let him kill Sienna. I have to stop him." At a candlelit dinner at home, Sienna and Davis sat across from each other, raising their glasses in a toast. They celebrated surviving recent tragedies and mourned the loss of their unborn child. Sienna's voice trembled as she spoke. "I should have listened to you from the start," she said. "I never should have let those black people into our home. They're not trustworthy." Davis didn't respond, offering only a sly smile. He poured wine into their glasses, but before they could drink, Danny suddenly burst into the room. Just like he had appeared out of nowhere to save Sienna on the street that day, in one swift motion, Danny snatched the wine glass from Sienna's hand. "What are you doing here?" Davis bellowed. "I threw you out already." Danny ignored him and turned to Sienna, urgency in his voice. "You have to believe me. I caught him with another woman. They're planning to poison you and blame my mom for it. Even the car accident was staged. Tonight, he's going to make sure you die and take all your money." Sienna's face turned pale, her hands trembling. Davis, attempting to remain composed, scoffed. "Don't listen to him. He's just trying to get his criminal parents out of jail." Danny didn't flinch. Holding up the wine glass, he looked Davis straight in the eye. "If there's no poison, then drink it yourself." Davis hesitated, his confidence wavering. "Why should I listen to some black kid like you?" he spat, stalling. The tension in the room thickened as Sienna, torn between fear and doubt, looked back and forth between them. Davis made a sudden move toward Danny, but the boy reacted swiftly, pouring the wine into the fish tank. Instantly, the expensive fish floated lifelessly to the surface. Sienna gasped, her voice trembling as she faced Davis. "Why would you do this to me?" Cornered, Davis's mask of charm shattered. His face twisted with fury as he shouted, "Why?" "Because I'm sick of being known as the man who married rich, a lapdog serving your family with everything in your name. I planned to relocate the black neighborhood to assert my power, but you ruined that. Then you brought them into our house, feeding and clothing them on my money. To you, I'm no better than the filthy black people you pity." Sienna's tears streamed down her face, her voice breaking. "But you killed our son, all for money." Davis sneered. "He wasn't my son, just your family's heir. With him around, I'd never see a dime of your fortune. In this house, I was nothing compared to a child." Sienna, overwhelmed by grief and betrayal, could no longer respond. Davis, realizing he couldn't stay any longer, tried to flee, but Danny had already called the police before he came in. Davis was arrested that night and sentenced to spend the rest of his life behind bars for his crimes. Danny's parents were freed, and the family embraced in tearful joy. They vowed to return to a simple, quiet life, steering clear of wealthy circles. Sienna, now reserved and subdued, lost her faith in love. She chose to dedicate her life to charity, finding solace in helping others. As for Danny, despite the pain he endured, he held on to his compassion and belief in justice. With his family, he worked toward a brighter, better future.